In the previous episode, we reached Johnston Ridge Observatory and had a first look at the mountain I'm about to climb in 2 days, Mount St. Helens, the site of a deadly volcanic eruption that shocked America and the world on May the 18th, 1980. Our adventure continues as I headed towards the south of Mount St. Helens. Just like previously at Mount Baker, I found myself a spot in a national forest area nearby and slept in my car. Also something I would do the next night as well before heading up to Mount St. Helens' summit. Good morning, everybody. What a beautiful day today. Well, it might not be a good morning for me because I woke up super early because it was way too cold. Since we're having an early start, I guess that's good for today's adventure around Mount St. Helens. And if we start early, I guess I can sleep early today as well. But anyways, what are we waiting for? Let's go. This time, we'll be following the local forest road number 99 towards Windy Ridge. En route, I found something quite out of ordinary. So behind me is a 1972 Pontiac Grand Prix. So this is one of the cars that was destroyed during the eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980. Okay, so I just got to Windy Ridge. In fact, it's not windy at all. As you can see, Mount St. Helens is right in the background, and we're gonna go higher so we can have a better views of the mountain. One thing I have to say is that the road up to Windy Ridge is just trashy. It's really bumpy and lots of cracks, and that actually goes all the way up here. It is an active volcano zone, so of course there are a lot of activities going on with the ground here. It will probably cause the foundation of the road to shift. This is interesting. Climbing stairs, but I feel like I'm breathing very hard, almost like high elevation. Geez, how am I gonna survive tomorrow? The weather was pretty decent and the sky was clear. So I finally get a chance to take a very good look at the mountain I was about to climb the next day. Because Mount St. Helens is still active today, its form changes all the time. The lava dome continues to grow and landslides continue to occur, even right in front of my eyes. That kind of looks serious. Hopefully it wouldn't happen when I reach the top tomorrow. Like mentioned in the previous episode, when Mount St. Helens erupted back in 1980, the largest landslide ever recorded in history took place, causing the mountain to blow up and made 57 people losing their lives, including that of David Johnston, the first person to report Mount St. Helens' eruption to his co-workers at United States Geological Survey. Signs of eruption were already there prior to May 18, 1980. Hundreds of earthquakes, many reaching Richter scale magnitude 5, occurred in a span of 2 months before that fateful eruption. Evacuation orders were already issued, but not all people followed. While USGS crews like David Johnston had no choice but to stay, and unfortunately die. Other folks who perished on that day included geology enthusiasts, some stubborn property owners in the area, and some people who simply believed that they knew the situations and dangers better than the scientists. Once on top of the windy ridge, you'll get to see a few things that were not previously visible at Johnston Ridge, like Mount Adams, the top of Mount Hood, and the top of Mount Rainier. Personally, I think the view from here is way better than Johnston Observatory. It's relatively difficult to get to, but overall, the views of Mount St. Helens is way better. Plus, you also get to see the Spirit Lake, Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, and Mount Adams as well. One place you will not be able to miss, nor can you ignore, is the Spirit Lake. This lake was once a prime spot for recreational activities in the Mount St. Helens area and can be seen in many pre-1980 photographs. You'll certainly notice a huge number of logs floating on the lake's surface. Now, why don't we head to its shore and take a closer look? Alright, so I am right now on a trail right beside the Harmony Viewpoint. So this is actually a trail that allows you to go all the way down to Spirit Lake. And speaking of Spirit Lake, so it is the largest lake in the vicinity of Mount St. Helens. And during the eruption of 1980, when Mount St. Helens blew up, the lava, the rocks, and everything went down into the lake and destroyed every single life that lived there. This was one of the biggest ecological catastrophes in American history. Yet 5 years later, the ecosystem inside the lake was fully restored. So it really shows how resilient the nature is. And of course, as a result of the eruption, all the huge rocks from Mount St. Helens went into the lake, and the lake became twice as large as before. So now we're gonna go to the shore of the lake and see what we can find out there. I think it's already evident that lives did come back after the eruption, as you can see how jungly this trail is. And I can imagine that during the 1980 eruption, everything you see here, they wouldn't exist. Everything was killed. Even when I'm talking, you look at that hill over there, that hill did not recover, presumably because even after the 1980s eruption, Mount St. Helens continues to be an active volcano. I thought the end of the trail is going to be the lake, but look, it's Mount St. Helens. It turns out that this trail is like a hidden viewpoint of Mount St. Helens without any people. How do I know that? Because in the parking lot, there was only one car. And guess whose car that was? And there was also the lake. The reason why this trail is named Harmony is because prior to the 1980 eruption, this trail would lead to Harmony Falls and the Harmony Falls Lodge. Both were destroyed on May the 18th, 1980 and now sit underneath the enlarged Spirit Lake. Spirit Lake is no doubt the second best place to see the impacts of the 1980 eruption other than Mount St. Helens itself. Now, it's almost like a dead lake with dead trees floating much of its surface. It's hard to imagine that just a few decades ago, this lake was a prime camping spot where families spent weekends and had good times. Looking at Mount St. Helens again, its once prominent peak that rivaled those of Mount Rainier and Mount Baker no longer exists. The mountain's former slope is now the peak. It made me thinking. Things can happen and life can change. You never know what's going to happen next. Nothing lasts forever. Go with the flow, enjoy and cherish every moment of your life. The beauty of Mount St. Helens could disappear in a matter of a very short time. For those who feel stuck on the slope of a mountain and thinking that they will never reach the summit, just be yourself and stand firmly. Maybe one day your hurdles will collapse like the former peak of Mount St. Helens. And then you'll realize that now you're standing on top of the world, enjoying the view that you always have dreamed of. Oh, just one more thing though. If the volcano is about to blow off and somebody told you to run, you just run and come back later, okay?
Wow, this trail is so worth it. I highly recommend.
By this point, normally I would leave the Mount St. Helens area already for wherever our next destination is. However, as I was able to secure the permit to reach the summit of Mount St. Helens, possibly the most famous and also the deadliest volcano in the United States, the next day. Now would be the time to prepare and get ready for tomorrow. I first went to grab a final full meal at a motel close to the trailhead, and then I had to look for a spot to spend the night. Fortunately, I was able to find a small hidden area very close to where I would depart for Mount St. Helens' summit.
Yeah, there has been a change of plan. So based on my observations in the past 2 days here, first of all, it can get really cold at night. And of course, I wasn't able to fall asleep past 2 a.m. last night. And once it passes 11 a.m., it becomes scorching hot, especially up in the mountain area where there isn't any shades. So my plan is I'm gonna rest very early today, and then tomorrow whenever I wake up, I'll head straight to the trailhead, then I'll head up to Mount St. Helens. So hopefully before it gets too hot, I can make to the summit if everything goes well. And of course, if it gets too cold at night, what's the whole point of just staying in the car and cannot fall asleep? Right now, the weather is really nice, and in a few hours, it's gonna cool down a little bit, and then that's gonna be the ideal temperature to go to sleep. And then, well, if I have to wake up at 2 a.m. and couldn't fall asleep again, that's actually a good time to head up to Mount St. Helens. Yeah, I'm just gonna go get prepared and fingers crossed. And if everything goes right, I'll see you tomorrow on top of Mount St. Helens.
Our adventure will continue as I finally attempt to summit one of Washington State's most prominent mountains. What will happen? Am I even going to be successful? Follow me to the next episode to find out.